He's the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, now Mr. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. So why has the King done this now? Why not sooner?
This is the King saying, you know what, I've had enough.
No Prince, no Duke of York, no titles, they have all gone.
We have all the details of the agreement. What about his house, Royal Lodge? Where will he live?
Royal Lodge has been a major sticking point. He has had to surrender the lease himself. He's been forced to do it, but he has had to be the one to say, I give that up.
And what impact does all of this have on Fergie and their daughters? Also,
you should be really worried, concerned and cautious.
Prince Harry's warning on giving your kids phones and putting pictures of them up online.
Similar to his brother William and Kate. You know, they've all got an interest in making young people's lives better.
Hello and welcome to Talking Royals. I'm Charlene White and I'm joined as ever by Chris and Lizzie. And also Dr Ranj, you popped in for a bit of a chat today.
I quite fancied a little
Welcome to our studio.
Thanks for
welcome.
Coming. How is the tea? Is it any good?
Oh, no, it's lovely.
Okay.
Oh, good. Well, he didn't make it, so that makes it good. Now, of course, you're an ambassador of Well Child, of which Prince Harry is a patron, and you've worked with loads of the children's charities that senior royals have also worked alongside. So we're really looking forward to getting your take on the week's news. But I've got to go straight to you two because we thought last week was a bit of a bombshell week. This week has been incredible, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Where to start?
Where do you want to start? Yet again. Well, what I think is possible, I've said this before, this could be the final one. This is the King saying, you know what, I've had enough. I need to sort this out once and for all. So any other possible development in this story, we can no longer can no longer damage our reputation.
Yeah,
so,
and
house,
what we're
money,
talking about,
titles, everything.
And what we're talking about, of course, is Prince Andrew, who is no longer Prince Andrew. He is now known as
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. So
Mr.
Yeah. Yep. No Prince, no Duke of York, no titles. They have all gone, and they have crucially all gone formally. There is a formal removal process underway. And I think what you're seeing here is the King has really hit the nuclear button, hasn't he? What they tried to do a couple of weeks ago was say, well, the Andrew is giving up the use of his titles and his honours, and it became quite clear very quickly that that wasn't enough. The public mood has just been very against this, and the noise has just continued to grow.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've had polling this week. 91% of people had a negative opinion of Prince Andrew.
That makes me wonder who the other 9% are, though, surely. I mean, not being unkind to Prince Andrew, but there can't be 9% of people out there who don't have a negative opinion. His reputation... He denies all the allegations, but his reputation is shot to bits.
And we can't underestimate that public sentiment, can we, Dr Ranj? Because, you know, yes, we've got the 9% who believe he should have, you know, I don't know, that what he's accused of.
I think 7% would don't knows.
Don't knows. But, you know, the public sentiment on a whole has been very strong, hasn't it, regarding this situation?
And quite rightly so. I mean... are we going to refer to him as the person formerly known as Prince? It sounds like the artist, doesn't it? I think the general sentiment I'm hearing as a layperson is it's about time. It's about time. And the only reason it's taking this long is because he is privileged enough to be protected from a lot of things, I think. This is nothing new. This is not a surprise to a lot of people.
The reality is this is a historic moment, isn't it? Because we knew something was going to happen. Neither of you thought it was going to go this far, did you?
I mean, they've really gone the full hog here. They've sort of looked at everything that Andrew has and seen what can we take away here, and they've taken away absolutely everything.
Quite a strong signal, though.
You know, one of the questions has been, why has it taken so long? And you talk to sources and they say that this has been a very complex situation. It has taken time from a legal and a constitutional perspective here, but they were aware that this was a necessity, that they had to do something this drastic. They are aware that, you know, Prince Andrew formerly Prince Andrew, denies all the allegations. He denies all the allegations, but there is still here, there is an awareness that he made a serious lapse of judgment with his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein.
But let's compare those statements, because the statement that came from the palace was very balanced in terms of the way they made sure that they talked about the importance of the victims who are involved in this situation. Very different, Chris, to the statement that Prince Andrew. Yes, it
was Prince Andrew then.
Yeah, released a few weeks ago.
Yes, my understanding is that Mr. Mountbatten Windsor, when that statement came out a couple of weeks ago about stopping using the titles, although as we discussed he still had them at the time, there was no mention of victims in there. And whilst that was discussed, it was decided not to put it in. You can read into that what you will. But the statement from the King yesterday ended with a message from both the King and Queen, and we must remember how much work she's done in the area of domestic abuse and violence against women. And it says, our thoughts remain and always will remain with the victims of abuse.
Now, I've got an interesting fact I'm going to give all three of you regarding this story.
You're telling us royal news.
I'm telling you royal news.
Okay, I'm loving
So
this.
do you know the last time a king stripped his brother of titles?
No, but I'm going to write it down while you tell me.
It was Henry IV.
Oh.
He stripped titles of his half-brother, John. When he took over from Richard II and became king, one of the first things he did was stripped his brother of the title of Duke of Exeter.
I mean, I think
and we're going back to the 15th century.
I think that just shows you just how unprecedented this moment.
I think the shocking
loving
thing
your
here, though, Lizzie,
I'm absolutely loving
was that new information.
Yes.
It was actually.
Yes.
Yeah. We
For the first time since we started recording, you've told us something about the royals.
There we go. I'm learning. Look, let's look back at exactly how we've ended up in this situation, because last week we were talking about the fact that this all started almost 15 years ago. So this story has been slowly but surely rumbling away, and has come to this crescendo this week. But where did this all begin?
Yeah, you're right to say this has been a long and very drawn-out running saga. So 1999, take you back to then, which is when Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein both became friends, and they were introduced by Ghislaine Maxwell. Fast forward to 2001, and that's when the allegations from Virginia Giuffre, she said that she had sex with Andrew 3 times. Those are allegations that he denies.
When she was 17.
But that was 2001. 2010, Andrew was photographed in New York with Jeffrey Epstein. This was after he had been convicted, and Andrew said that he went to see Epstein to do, in his words, the honourable thing and tell him that the friendship was over. We have later found out that they had actually remained in contact, some emails that came out recently.
And you can take over now,
and
Chris.
You can take over the timeline.
So, where do we go? So we're in 2010.
Yeah.
2011, he stepped down as being the trade ambassador, which was a role he had on behalf of the British government at the time. Then we get into lots of court documents that started being filed around sort of 2015. Won't go into all of those details. But the key point after that was the death of Jeffrey Epstein in prison. And that then led on to the Newsnight interview, all that sweating and honourable and shooting party, and well, yes,
allegedly.
And then that meant he was then. That was when they started to have the stripping back, the standing down, the titles, and all the rest of it. I think we were saying earlier, weren't we? There've been 5 attempts to sort of get to where we are now, to take away these things from him, and that's happened over the last 6 years.
But then also one could argue that because of the situation that the king is in at the moment, and he will not have a reign that is as long as his mother's was, would he ever have wanted this particular situation to carry on into Prince William becoming king?
I mean, this situation that we've had in the last few weeks just wasn't tenable. You know, the statement that came out from Andrew a couple of weeks ago acknowledged that he was becoming a distraction, and what you've seen over the last few weeks is that he has become a total distraction over all the good work that the royal family are trying to do. And, you know, next week, Prince William is going to Brazil for his Earthshot Prize Awards, and then he's going to the COP climate summit, the last thing he wants is to be travelling there and us still talking about his uncle.
It's a bit like the Vatican, isn't it? Because like this time last week when we recorded the show, we just stepped off the plane from the Vatican. I thought the King was very lucky that they didn't completely overshadow it. It was kind of part of the narrative, but he managed to get there, see the Pope and do that historic moment of praying alongside him without Andrew completely overshadowing it. But that was luck, I think, rather than judgment.
And actually sources you talk to have been quite clear that while this has been, there have been discussions with the family and the family support the King's decision, the King has very much led on this. He has been the one to do this, and that he has had the support of the rest of the family on that.
Well, I'm going to do a bit of a quick fire round. So, what happens to Beatrice and Eugenie?
They stay as their Royal Highnesses Princess Beatrice and Eugenie of York, whilst well, you might ask me another question about Duke of York title. That's being scrubbed, but they remain HRHs, her Royal Highness.
And what about Royal Lodge?
Royal Lodge has been a major sticking point because Andrew has had what he describes as a cast iron lease with the Crown Estate, and therefore it has been very difficult to get him to give that up. And essentially, he has had to surrender the lease himself. He's been forced to do it, but he has had to be the one to say, I give that up. And he will now move to the Sandringham estate in private accommodation.
How about Sarah Ferguson?
Oh, yes.
Because, of course, that's
my...
if one's to be believed, they were asking for 2 properties. And what's been the end result of the toing and froing on that?
Well, look, Sarah Ferguson basically has been told, you're on your own, love. Perhaps not in that kind of language, but she's not part of this at all. The King is still going to pay for Andrew, give him a provision, an allowance, whatever you want to call it, pocket money, which is coming from the King's private income, nothing to do with the public purse.
Let me just rewind. So Andrew gets pocket money from his brother.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's basically it. And actually, that when you spoke to the palace, they basically said, we can't change the fact that this is the King's younger brother. And also, talking about Royal Lodge, they couldn't evict him because there was a legal lease and the King can't break the law, of course, because he is the law. Therefore, they had to get Andrew to agree to move out of Royal Lodge. And therefore, they obviously had to say to him, well, here, you can have some money from the King's private income to live in Sandringham.
Okay.
But Sarah gets none of that. So she lost her titles, or she's not using Duchess of York anymore, so she's just Sarah Ferguson.
Are we likely to see Andrew in public anytime soon?
I think we can probably answer this quite quickly together. No. So we don't actually know when he will move. They've just said as soon as is practically possible. The lease was only surrendered this week. So
is that it? Any more questions?
No, I think that's it. Harry's been on yet another podcast, guys. Yet another one.
This one is next week, by the way. I'll just make the phone call.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know why he keeps ignoring our voicemails. This time with American comedian Hassan Minhaj. And he's been talking about the danger of social media with kids, kids having mobile phones, and also touches a little bit on kids' photographs being posted up online. Now, with the work that you do with Well Child, he does have a real connection, doesn't he, with wanting to better the lives of kids.
Absolutely, and similar to his brother William and Kate, they've all got an interest in making young people's lives better. The thing, I listened to him on that podcast, and actually I agree with him. Social media is an integral part of our lives. It is fantastic in so many ways, but we need to remember it was not developed with anyone's best wishes in mind. It wasn't developed in a protective way for young people, and we have a huge amount of evidence of how damaging it can be to kids and for kids. And I almost feel like, we're woefully behind on the legislation on this. Like, the horse has already bolted. The damage is being and has been done. I don't know what we can feasibly do now to kind of ameliorate or mitigate some of this damage that's happening. And he's quite right. Like so many parents, he's concerned. Yeah. And I get it. And I agree with him.
As a parent of young kids, which I am in the same way that he is, you're sort of looking for some kind of steer or some kind of legislation, and it's not yet there anywhere in the world. But anyway, let's take a look at what you had to say.
What are you going to do when your kids ask for a cell phone? are you going to give them a phone? I mean, have you talked to Megan about this? Because I've talked to my wife about this.
We talk about it a lot. And I think that, because of what we know now, we will be way more cautious and hesitant of allowing our kids to have access to social media. But the problem is so many parents don't have that awareness, because in no logical, fair, ethical, moral world should a parent have to consider that this app that sits on the phone, which, by the way, having a phone for your kid is a really important thing.
Totally. Yeah, to know where they are and they can get in touch with you.
All of that.
Totally,
all of that. But the moment that you give them the gateway to everything else, kids will be kids.
And it's worth remembering that just a couple of weeks ago, in that interview that Prince William did with Eugene Levy, he said, our kids don't have phones either, and we're very strict on that. And particularly dinner time is a time for chatting, but no phones at all in the Wales household.
And neither in the Sussex household. And so it feels a little bit like you're both saying the same thing. Wouldn't it be great if you joined forces?
Yeah, it's sort of quite aligned, doesn't it? I was thinking about that essay that the Princess of Wales co-authored, where she was talking about the epidemic of disconnection and how we're all, on our phones and tablets and apps all the time. And I was thinking...
That was the week you caught me looking at my phone. While you were talking.
Yeah, it was.
As you are now.
And you're right to say that they are sort of talking about similar issues, similar themes, but talking about them very, very separately still.
Yeah, I mean, I guess both their kids, their worlds are slightly different.
Yes.
Whereas Kate and William, they have to show pictures of their children because he is heir to the throne. Whereas Meghan and Harry have a choice where that's concerned. And that's something, Harry has brought this up in this podcast, where he talks about the fact that it's a choice for them not to show their kids on social media.
Should parents post photos of their children online? This has also been a very...
Parents can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
The reality is, from what I've learned, what I've seen, what I've heard and experienced especially through the Parents Network, is you should be really, really worried, concerned and cautious about putting photographs of your kids online, especially now with this surge of unregulated AI. You just don't know where it's going to go. You don't know how it's going to be used.
It's not a blanket ban for Harry and Meghan for having their kids online, because you do see parts of their heads and long shots of them. They are still used.
No, but it's different. So I don't post up full frontal pictures of my kids either. I mean, you can see them, that's their kids there at the pumpkin patch. You can see them from a long lens, side of their heads, back of their heads.
Yeah. I would argue that's still them being used on Meghan's social media.
No, but I think it's not about the kids being used. I would argue it's about their kids' faces not being used in AI and all of that sort of thing. Exactly. You could still walk down the road and walk past them and you wouldn't know who they are. And do you think that parents... Dr. Ranj, do you think that parents sometimes underestimate the impact that putting, especially young kids, photos online, that may have in the future?
Just remember, anything you put on the internet is there forever, and it can be used in any way that people want to. The internet is a type of media that is unregulated compared to other kinds of media, remember. There is no recourse, really. There isn't really any safeguard for anybody there. And with the explosion of AI, which is the next horse that is going to bolt, let's be honest, I feel like the risks are even greater. Your children do not have a choice about whether you broadcast their image to the entire world. So there is a lot to be said about, not showing their faces if you are going to have any sort of imagery of your kids on there. But just think about the future. We don't know how those images are going to be used, particularly of the royal family. Yeah. I think he's absolutely right to be cautious and to warn people. Sadly, I don't think anybody else who is in power and able to do something about this is taking those warnings seriously.
I agree with you, they're right to be cautious. I just think they are still, in a way, using their kids. OK, they're not showing their faces, but they know that there's a huge interest in their children. And that video on Instagram wouldn't have got as much attention had the backs of their heads not been in it.
Two different things. Sort of letting people glimpse their lives as parents and putting their kids' faces online. That's two completely different things. I would argue, and I think there is a space online on Instagram, on TikTok or what have you, where parents talk about their lives as parents without showing their kids' faces.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for them, that's security reasons. But for a lot of parents, it's simply, I just want to keep my children safe.
Of course, and I completely agree with that. But I'd say when they went to Disneyland recently, remember that their kids were quite prominent, even though some of their faces were deliberately blurred.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with that side of the world because I'm going to touch on Hurricane Melissa and Jamaica, because, of course, it is a Commonwealth realm. And we did hear from the King this week, didn't we, regarding the devastation that's been caused in part of the island.
Yeah, particularly for him. He says he's got such a great affection for Jamaica. Remember, he's the head of state of Jamaica because it's a Commonwealth realm. That means he is the King of Jamaica. And therefore, he was sent them a message on behalf of him and Camilla about just how saddened they'd been to see the awful devastation there and just how much affection he's had for the country, which he said he first visited 50 years ago.
Wow. So as a Commonwealth realm, are we, is Britain under any obligation to send money and to send aid to help Jamaica to rebuild?
Well, the King's the head of state, but our government doesn't have a obligation to send money. I know they are sending aid, but it's not a government-to-government thing. It is that the King is the head of state of Jamaica, and he wants the people there to know that he is with them and he's thinking of them.
Okay, I'm going to travel back to Europe. And I'm going to go to you, Lizzie. I'm going to fire this one at you. Got quite a bit to get through. French media have had to apologise to Kate and William. Why is that?
Yeah, so Kate and William took legal proceedings against Paris Match. Paris Match earlier this year published some photographs of the Wales family on holiday in the Alps. It was a private holiday. There were long lenses used, and this is a red line for Kate and William. And so they took out legal proceedings and won. And Paris Match have had to publish an apology. They've had to pay their legal fees. This for Kate and William, when you talk to people around them, isn't about the money. This is about the principle here, and saying to anybody that is thinking about trying to capture their children and them in private family time, that we are not going to tolerate this. This is not okay. We want our children to grow up in a protected and as normal environment is possible. And so I think this is what they're doing here, is they're calling this out and they're setting a precedent. Right. And if you try and do this, we are going to come down on you.
I mean, Dr Ranj, we often talk on this show about, the royals of old and the royals of new, and a younger demographic. It could be quite easy for them to not be aware of just what it used to be like back in the day, where we had a lot of access to the royals.
Yes.
So seeing holiday pictures and stuff in papers when we were growing up were pretty normal, right?
Yeah, and they'd almost have to do a photo shoot at the start of their holidays just to try and stave off some of the attention.
But this is now from 1995.
I mean, we've all seen them skiing, haven't we, in their outfits?
And it's just really, it's a
Are you making a comment on the 1990s outfits?
I think I've still got some of those in the cupboard somewhere.
The 90s was a special time.
Bless them.
It's strange, isn't it? Because we've grown up with access like this, whereas now we just we don't even get one official picture at all. Holiday time is holiday time. And it's a very different environment that we're living in now, isn't it?
Yeah, and remember, this is family time for them, and we should respect that, even despite their positions and their, social standing and what they do for the world and society. We need to remember they're a family at the core of this, and these are children involved. And William and Harry are all too aware of the impact of something like that this has on a family. They are viscerally
they speak
aware
about it a lot, about being small little kids and remembering the bank of cameras and people hollering at them from across
That's not normal.
The ski slope. It's just really
and
so
one thing we talk about repeatedly is both sons do not want to repeat the mistakes of the past. They want their children to live a vastly different life as far as they can achieve that. Right, Lizzie?
Yeah, totally right. And, we do see a little bit of the children on official engagements. Some of them have joined them on public engagements, but they are really, really careful with how much the children are doing. They just really want them to be children and to grow up away from the public spotlight as much as possible, to be able to go to school, to be able to go on holiday, and they are absolutely precious about that family time. You're quite right to say that. You know, we don't really see Kate and William during the school holidays.
Well, no, we're
because
in
they're
half
off.
term at the moment.
Exactly.
You haven't seen them at all.
It's almost as if the two brothers are really aligned on this issue. Maybe they should get together and campaign on it.
We can keep saying it, but it doesn't seem to be happening.
Maybe they could both come onto this podcast, and I'd happily vacate my chair, and you could interview both.
I'd be really happy for you to vacate that chair.
I know. Every
if they
week.
were going to come
Every
in.
week, yes.
And actually, in terms of being on that side of the world, theoretically, William is going to be on that side of the world next week, as will you two. I'm assuming he's not going to make a little trip to North America to see his brother.
No. South America. So actually quite a big deal, and partly why the Andrew thing, let's go back to the top of the show, needed to be done and dusted as soon as possible. William is in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week for the Earthshot Awards, number 5. There've been 4 before now. And then he's going to be joined by the Prime Minister. First time a UK PM has been to William's Earthshot Awards, and they're going to travel together to the UN Climate Change Summit COP30 in Belém, which is in the north of Brazil.
Yeah,
so a big week.
You'll hear Prince William making a speech. He's there on behalf of the King, and this is really what you're seeing here is the sort of evolution of Prince William as a statesman on the global stage. Right. That's how they see this, is he's really stepping into that role. So it's a big week for William next week. He wants all eyes on Earthshot and then COP and us all talking about the environment,
and not Andrew.
Us talking about his uncle.
I guess we better talk about Brazil when we're back next week then, haven't we?
Well, I think we'll join you.
We've got a special edition next week where you'll be in here on your own.
Oh, great. And I'll be talking to you.
You could have landed that a bit more gently.
No.
As far as I was aware, one of you was going.
The plans have changed.
Plans have changed.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant! Oh, great.
So
or we could just
Well, I'm going to Brazil with them.
Oh, right.
Yeah, come.
You're not meant to buddy up with these two, Dr. Ranj. I've known you longer. I remember.
You can come again.
Yeah, exactly.
I know where the weather's better.
Well, exactly. You need to remind where your loyalties lie, but it's been absolutely brilliant.
It has. Thank you
this week. Thank you so much. We look forward to you coming back again. And do not forget, you two, what are the rules when you travel?
Bring something back for you.
And please, this time, do not buy something from up the road.
Well, there was an Italian deli down the road, so we managed to get around it last time, but I don't think there's a Brazilian shop anywhere near here.
No, not that I've seen recently.
No. So I know you've got very important things to do next week, but remember, the most important thing is that you bring me back something nice.
Keeping you happy is always important, Charlie.
Absolutely. I'm glad you figured that out. Thank you so much, as always, and thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Ranj, as I said, it's been an absolute joy. You can hear us talking royals every week by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. See you next week, where I'll be solo in the studio and they'll be in Brazil.